Hi, and welcome once again for another great LinkedIn Live. Today, we are going to demystify digital twins. We heard a lot of digital twins. They are nearly everywhere. Whenever a product is created, it starts sometimes with a CAD drawing, with a technical drawing. But that's not all. Even now, in the area of bigger plans and machines, digital twins are created to better understand what they are doing, what they should do, when predictive maintenance is needed and whatnot. But if you ever wondered what the digital twin is, let's start with that little video.
Over the years, products have become smarter and highly communicative, providing an opportunity for manufacturing industry stakeholders to improve key KPIs by optimizing performance of man, machine, material, and methods. To accomplish this, data feedback from the field is critical for improving products, aligning engineering, manufacturing, and services, so to close the product lifecycle management loop. The digital twin, representing a digital virtual replica of a physical product in terms of aspect and behavior, both mutually interacting, helps this closed-loop feedback. Through the digital twin approach to improve performance, we are effectively able to monitor, optimize, and automate improvement for business objectives, such as product innovation, operability, and availability. Conceptually summarizing, physical and virtual digital twins constantly improve by learning from each other, thereby bringing overall business KPI improvement.
Well, yeah, so we see digital twins are so much. They can do so many different things, but it's like I would like to shed some more light. And today I'm so happy that I really have two experts with me who are able to talk about the digital twin, why we need them, what the future will bring in that way, and also a lot of other things. And of course, they're also going to answer your questions. If you have one, just place them in the chat. First of all, let me introduce now my first guest speaker today. That's Murli Srinivas, Global Head, Center of Excellence, Industry 4.0. And Murli, we all know you as the digital twin expert. You are just like Mr. Digital Twin. Hello.
Hello, hi, nice to be here, Friso.
Absolutely great you are joining us. But you are not alone today. So also your colleague is with us, and I'll bring you up on stage right away. So Sandeep Ban, Global Senior Expert, Digital Twin. Hi, great to have you here, Sandeep. Hello.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
That's perfect. Well, yeah, good morning. Let's see where all the people are joining from the time zones. Let us know. And again, if you have a question, just place them in the chat on LinkedIn, and we're going to wrap them up as soon as we're there. But now we have heard about the term digital twin, which sounds nice. And I hope there is no digital twin of me, because I don't know if that would be the best idea to do in a digital world as we think about the metaverse and all that. But the term digital twin, it's like coming everywhere, especially in manufacturing, but also in other industries. E&U, it's Moni, I know you're in the project with digital twin for windmills, but please tell me a little more about that. Why is it now in every industry? Why is it needed? And why wasn't it there 3 years ago?
Sure. I think that's a great segue to kind of get into this topic of digital twin, and that comes very much about our human psychology and human uncertainties. Basically, we always are very, let's call it, most of the people we deal in the industry are very risk averse, because they are actually investing their a huge money, and huge stakes are really at risk. If you get into a supply chain, if you get into a product design, if you get into energy supply, if you're talking about even sending satellites to moon, basically. Yeah. So practically every aspect of it. I mean, today we see problems because of COVID, and you see a lot of uncertainties in the logistics value chain. You also see automotive guys suffering a lot because their sales have gone down. And everyone would like to look at a crystal ball and predict how I should plan my business going forward. And unfortunately, I mean, only the fairy tales probably will have some of those crystal balls. In reality, we have today a way to look into the future crystal ball through the digital twin. because it is almost replicating exact scenario what we would want to see going forward, as far as our businesses are concerned, even for that matter as far as the human beings are concerned. People talk about digital twin of human beings, right? So I want to see how my health is today and what is it that I need to be planned going forward, because we are aging, the environment is changing, pollution. So all of that is something which is making you better prepared, and industries, people, smart cities, everyone wants to be prepared for the future. And that's where the digital twin has become such a talked about topic and sought after topic, not only in the IT guys, but a lot of business and CXOs basically are really clinging on to this topic as their future lifeline.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, you mentioned the crystal ball. I would have to say, why is there no digital twin of the crystal ball? Because that could solve the problem in a way. Maybe
Sure.
also I can ask you, Sandeep, a little bit about like digital twins and also your experience about that in the different industries. It's like some key benefits, and we're going to tackle them afterwards. But it's like, what would your introduction of a digital twin be for
Well,
somebody who's not that experienced?
absolutely. I would like to add what Murli said. I think the pandemics right now has also shifted the entire scenario of the industry. If you see that it has put resiliency on the agenda of every company. So, which means that now every industry is looking at a different strategy. It's not the same thing what it was 3 years back. So when we say strategizing, it has the pandemics has put a lot of impact on the supply chain. We all know it very well, and the operational efficiency. And we have all realized this operational efficiency is directly proportional to economic prosperity. I think these 2 years have, we have learned about this thing very hard in a very hard way. And if you talk about the companies, so there are three areas, I can say threefold things, and I'm very proud to say that Atos has been, primarily when we started Digital Twin, we thought about these three things. One is moving from paper operations to digitizing the things. I think this pandemics had made companies to realize that they need to invest into the automation area, because this is the first time, I think, after 100 years, people and process have been impacted. Because we say there are three pillars in every industry. One is people, process, and technology. People and processes are impacted, and which means that we really found it in a very hard way to say that we need to invest. It's need, not the want right now. Number two is we need to contextualize the data for an efficient supply chain, which is very important. So, because if there is no transparency, we have seen during these 2 years, transparent supply chain is key for all this. So, the
Right.
contextualization of data, it's very important. So, coming to these two important things, I think if you see, when you will ask us about the digital twin and what it is all about, I think we have been thinking in 2018 when Murli and myself started this initiative. I think these were fundamentally the two things which were in the back of our mind. And when we came up with this platform, it seems that as if we were knowing that pandemics is coming. So I think now the companies are realizing they have to shift it in this way. They have to shift their strategy. They have to get the resilience. You see, and probably you will see that coming down the future, the digital twin is in demand more and more, because we need to automate the processes. We lost the people, so we need to have a knowledge base. So which means aging knowledge had to be captured. And the third thing, which I was talking about, supply chain, where we need to contextualize. This is going to grow, I can say, in down the line next 5 years.
Well, thank you so much. I think that's quite important also like to understand. And yes, yeah, now I have to say you're not just like digital twin experts, you're digital twin pioneers in a way. On the other hand, I mentioned somehow it's like, okay, there are digital twins from processes, there are digital twins from machines, digital twins from different things. But now it's like Atos. Atos is a company. We're not producing machines. We're not producing processes and all that. So why get involved with Atos? I know now you are the experts, and why get involved on a very early stage? I think that's quite important also to understand a little bit on say like or you're not the vendor of the machine itself who would normally provide technical data or a CAD or something. Why you?
I think this was probably this is the most frequently asked question since we got into this whole area.
Hmm.
Explore this since 2018. This is one of the most. I mean, whether we talk to analysts, whether we talk to even our customers, one of the very frequently asked question was exactly this: Why Atos? So, you, I mean, if you look at the history of where Atos was basically as a system integrator, we had a lot of um, IT know-how and IT engagement with the customer, where we actually did a lot of SAP, did a lot of PLM. We went into the design phase of supply chain. We went into the design phase of a smart factory. We even went to the design phase of fighter aircraft, for example, right? So, and all these design, when I say design, for all of them, the common thing is you have to have a certain set of assumptions, and you have to go with certain sort of assumptions, whether it's environmental parameters or human
Right.
parameters. Assumptions is a criteria which obviously starts the design process, and those assumptions is like looking out of the window and trying to take a guess at what that assumption could be. A good qualified assumption, but it can never be a perfect assumption. So there is always a room for improvement when it comes to optimizing those assumption and values. And that is where
Okay.
we thought, and then we thought, as last 5-10 years, the cost of sensors and communications have come down. The connectivity of all our products are more. That means the products what we used to design 15-20 years ago are no more the same products, because they have more electronics and they are much more communicative. That means there
Hmm.
has to be a new dimension, the way the product needs to be looked at, managed, and maintained, and it is shouting out. The products and the processes and logistics are shouting out with all the sensor data and all the information which is coming from it, all the semantic data, but no one is capturing it. So we said, let this whole IT get integrated with all this information real time, which is coming from these products. And that is where we thought, oh, when products have changed, the whole cheese have to move. We have to get into a new mode, the way the products are built, managed, serviced, and retired. That's where Atos said, oh, let's invest into it. And we invested a fairly large amount in millions in terms of, and we were one of the earlier ones to kind of look out as part of our vision statement. And then we said, and thanks to the scientific community, where we had some visionary people who basically always have something which technology, how it will evolve in about 5 years, 6 years. And that's where the whole initiative started. And here we are today, ready to serve the world in terms of digital twins.
Well, that's perfect. Thank you so much. I'm even more on it. It's like really just like one of the bold moves. And on the other hand, Rad, that makes it clear. Sometimes you have the different parts, and you might have the model, you might have the drawing, you might have some data, but we all know just like doing nothing with data is not really bringing out the value on that one.
Right.
Also, you Sandeep, I think you as an expert or something, sometimes you get like different settings on what is there, and it's also about like the way of combining things and deriving data, and yeah, getting out more as an educated guess. We all know from the way into real data, from hypothesis to validation, and get prepared for a model. Is that right, Sandeep?
Absolutely. And I think that was one of our, when we started this journey and with the wind turbine industry and with the shop floor industry. And it was always a problem for us where to start. And that is the problem, every organization, every company is saying, oh, we have already certain digital threads. Now what to do about it? And moreover, it's very difficult for us to get how to get this structured and unstructured data. So what I mean to say that there are different type of data for, when we say digital twin, we always have a top down approach. We always say we want here to address business problems. We are not here to address the IT problems. When we say business problems, these are business KPIs, like how to increase the availability of an asset, how to reduce the cost of operation. So these are the fundamental, KPI level problems companies are facing.
Okay.
How to make an efficient supply chain. So this is a fundamental business problem. Now, when we go from top-down approach, now that we ask the question that how we should address those problems, what type of data to capture. So we bucketize our thought process in three types of areas. So we need a data which is coming from the field for a particular asset. So we call it, and for a particular asset to have a 360-degree view of that asset, which we call it as an, which is a actual digital twin, we need to get data number one from the field, which is an IoT data. It could be an service data. It could be operational data. It could be image. It could be sound. It could be text. It could be any sort of data, unstructured data, which is coming through the field, and structured data also, of course. And then there is a data which is coming through through the enterprise world, which is because that particular asset or that particular process will have certain elements of data in SAP system, PLM systems, as design data, as build data, and all those things will be there in that in service lifecycle management system. And third is the knowledge of people, which was very hard for us to, that is the concept which we came in 2018, and we started with this. It's called cognitive ontology, where we capture this knowledge of people. That's the experience of people. So if I capture for that particular asset or a process, if I now combine all these three things together and contextualize this data, for what? For addressing the business problems, basically, whether I want to increase the availability of asset, reduce the cost of operation. But this contextualization gave me 360-degree view of that particular asset or that particular process. And that is the systematic approach we took in this
Perfect.
in the digital twin area to address the different business KPIs, basically.
Well, that's great. You mentioned three parts. Maybe just like let me bring up for visualization and for context for all the participants some sort of like the approach on that, and also on that approach, and I make it just a little bigger, so we would
Absolutely.
just like move down. You mentioned those three parts, right? On the orange, the green, and the
Exactly.
semi green one, right? Maybe we
Absolutely.
can talk about
Absolutely.
the approach.
Yes, I
So
think probably Murli, you can also
Yeah.
add that how we started with the approach part of it. That will be
Right. So I think the most difficult part of this whole journey is interaction with the customer, right? So
right,
basically, you will get different stakeholders at the customer side. Sometimes you get to talk to the IT guys. Sometimes you get to talk to the business guys, basically, which are really affected and they have pressure. And in quite a few cases, we get to encounter the topmost management of the organization, and all of them articulate their problem differently, right? So someone is only bothered about the financial, the other one is bothered about his operation, someone else in the IT is only bothered about his systems. So getting the companies, right, getting our customers to think alike and bring out a common problem from their side has been the most challenging thing as part of this whole journey, because you get to hear I mean, just to put a example here, right? So we were with one of the largest pharmaceutical companies here in Europe, the one who's also famously manufacturing the vaccines for COVID. Yeah? So
mm,
we the first half an hour, we had about 8 people in the room from different corners of the organization. Someone from IT, someone from the operation, someone from manufacturing, and Fizo, you won't imagine the kind of cacophony that we had within this session in the first half an hour, where everyone among themselves were fighting of what the business problem, what is it that we want to get out of digital twin, digitization, and so on and so forth.
right,
Getting them on one page is so important, because you have to baseline what you want to get done for that company. And that is where we designed a process, a top-down process, which Sandeep mentioned about, called a 4M6C. And 4M means managing the 4 parameters: man, machine, material, and method. And if you
mhm,
fix these 4, you basically have the complete organization mapped, right? So that is and everyone has their processes, every department, everyone will have to deal with some human factor, man, machine, or a material. And getting all of them to think alike. In fact, at the end of the 2-day session that we had with this pharmaceutical company, they actually thanked us, not because we came up to a solution bringing it down from business to the IT, but they thanked us because we helped their people get on the same page. That means they could communicate much better, because everyone is working in their own silos when they are all working in a daily business. They never get to communicate among themselves on a common objective. And this
Okay.
helped them also invent themselves much better. And that is where we brought in the three, from the three M's, the IT bucket, the digital threats, which are IT, OT, and semantic. And then we figured out of how we can contextualize them, which Sandeep mentioned, and put it as part of our, let's call it, framework, which is an Atos IP, as part of the digital twin platform.
Absolutely.
Right. But
Absolutely.
we have had very funny experiences. Sometime in summer coming, we can have discuss this over a mug of beer of what kind of funny experiences and really path breaking kind of findings that we had as part of different industries.
I think if
Right.
I want to add here, if you go to any type of industry, for example, we went to energy industry. Now his question is, how can you increase the availability of my asset? So that's the tagline. Now whether it is digital twin or whether we are going to do something else, but the idea is to increase the availability of an asset from 97% to 98, for example. Now, this approach, 4M6C, this really helped us because it's not possible for people like IT people to know each and every domain. So this really helped us to ask the right questions and drive it towards the right use cases. And this 6C is mostly related to the maturity of digital model, which means that there is a from a convention to the cognition, where it is a feedback. If you see here, there's a performance feedback. So in the last pyramid of this particular C, which we call it
Right.
as configure, it's the feedback mechanism where the assets could be stopped automatically based on certain events, or assets could be repaired if there is any problem. We have not reached in certain cases to that stage. That is the ultimate stage, we call it as. And but we have been able to predict, we have been able to go into a decision support system, we call it as 1C, which is configure, where we are. So it has a maturity model, what I mean to say. And it really made us to think in a very systematic way how to address the digital twin, how to address the industry problems, basically.
Absolutely. So I think one of the thing Fizo also wanted to add is the other challenge is every industry is very unique, right? So if you look at,
Right.
there are several industries and their processes are extremely unique. Even within automotive, for example, a tier one supplier has a different process as compared to an OEM, and same is in energy industry and everywhere else. So the whole idea is we needed to verticalize these thought processes, because we cannot be doing every industry, every customer as a different project by itself. That means we had to templatize it in terms of verticalization. And that is
Mhm.
where we actually brought in our best, because we stuck to the global standards, because every industry is governed by IEC and ISO standards, which are global, where
Right.
not only the structure but also the best practices, the data structures, the whole terminology, everything is standardized. And that is where we have been successful in putting together vertical solutions for industries. And this is close to 80 to 85% repeatable, because across the world the business challenges of a industry is always very common. So that is where the whole value of digital twin, and it is a complex thing. I mean, let me remove the perception that one will achieve a digital twin, because creating a digital twin will cost hundreds of millions. No one wants to create a digital twin for the sake of digital twin. And it is not about the visual looks of it. It is not about augmented reality. It's not about all those things. It is about the value that the digital threads put together brings. And if you consider it as a puzzle, like a jigsaw puzzle, when we, as kids, when we play these puzzles, ultimately when you complete all the digital threads, then the picture will look very clear. And that is the digital twin. It needs to look alike, it needs to behave alike, it needs to react alike. It also needs to you are able to simulate exactly the problem
Mhm.
in context of the environment that the product is going to be. Seashore, altitude, desert, you need to simulate that environment. So that means it has to exactly behave not only by itself but also react exactly the same when you change the environment around it.
Well, that
Absolutely.
sounds on the one hand complex, but on the other hand, if you get it done, and you mentioned about like a 2 day workshop, and after
Yes.
those 2 day workshops, there was clarity on the table about like what the value is.
What
And
the
if you
business
have the
problem
value,
is, business
right?
problem, and what the value is exactly.
Right. Well, that's absolutely perfect and stunning. And yes, it sounds complex, but you are the ones who understand that complexity and can make it easier to understand, even for me. Also, for the audience, I would have us looking at. We have quite some numbers of people, dear audience, that are watching us live right now. Is it totally clear what those experts are saying? Do you have any questions on the digital twins? And Muli, you mentioned something and like talking about different things and experience we had. Let me just bring in right now. We can meet us live here at the Win Europe from 5th to 7 April in Bilbao.
Yeah.
Beautiful country, by the way. So that's also one thing to do, but also like to put in questions live where you are in between. Maybe also you offered a glass of beer. So let's get that started. So that's up and running on that place.
Yep.
Maybe just like again, if you have a question, just put them in the chat here. That would be awesome. Going to the next thing about like experience and in some diverse industries and what have we done there? It's like what have you learned? What are some like references? The one part. On the other hand, it's like key learnings. What I always like to point out, because every
Right.
reference stands for a big learning, right?
Correct, correct. So we have had several
Yeah.
customers, again, close to around 70, 80 customer discussions. And ultimately we have some industries that we actually have focused more than others. And some industries we have almost a running solution which we can. And Sandeep and I have engaged ourselves personally into the energy industry, renewable energy industry. And happy to say that today, close to around 700, 750 wind turbines are running from 6 different OEMs and 4 different models per OEM. And the whole objective, and the operator doesn't really care whether it is from company X or company Y, right? He doesn't really care about it. All he sees is, can I promise my end customer a certain amount of energy output? Can
Mm-hmm.
I reduce my cost of inventory and operations? Can I make sure that my asset is running for 25 years as much as possible? Because that will fulfill the energy output. And that is something which for us was revealing, because the type of work, the repetitive work that the field engineer undertakes is awfully complex and awfully inefficient. And using the digital twin, we give not only the field engineer the tools and means to make himself much more efficient in terms of mean time to repair, mean time to failure, and so on, so, but
Right.
also a crystal ball in the business side to say when my asset is going to fail, when can I optimally order my inventory so that I don't need to carry my inventory costs. I can order it more or less 2 months, 3 months before the
Mm-hmm.
exact failure happens, so we are able to predict it. And Sandeep, you will have some
I
anecdote.
think, yeah, we have the same thing for shop floor. I think, but we went for this, we started the journey with shop floor industry, especially from CNC perspective. I think the typical question was, how can you increase the operational equipment efficiency? So it is a very simple question, but there are certain Xylo products working in Xylo, so we could have done something around that. But I think this digital twin approach has really helped us, in really bringing the operational equipment efficiency. Because in looking when we see the CNC part, or when we see the shop floor at a 360-degree view of an asset, so at the top level, we come from the business level, so it gave us a lot of insights, especially a lot of use cases came up. For example, how to find the prediction of the spindle. And the spindle is a very important thing because they were manufacturing aerospace components, especially for Airbus. And how to find the prediction of when the spindle is going to break. What is the material removal rate? Whether the material removal rate is consistent, because if it is not consistent, then it is heating up the things and it is breaking the spindle. So all these things. Not only that, how to improve the quality of product, because 50% of the products were getting rejected in that end. If they are manufacturing 100 products and 50 are getting rejected, so probably how to give them more insight before they manufacture the products, giving them that the surface finish could not be good, or there could be cracks in the things and all those things.
Absolutely.
So these were the typical use cases, but this we only achieved what Murli also showed, that 4M6C approach, and also bringing in 360-degree view of an asset. And once you bring the data from all sources, even the knowledge of, even we are able to now capture the sound of that machine, and based on the sound we can do some sort of analysis where we can say that, oh, this machine is not behaving in the proper way. And there are
Right.
other ways to do, also capturing the images. So once you have this 360-degree view, and then all these use cases could be resolved in a more efficient way. So,
Right. And the other industries, the several industries, we also talked about some rail transport, and I mean transport sector, rail also. But what is significant, which struck us, was how complex the and diverse these requirements would be. For example, the telecom tower providers, we're talking about 30,000 towers of a certain provider here in Europe alone, and they have no idea today about the maintenance of it. Do they have excess capacity on the towers? Is the coverage of the signal efficient enough in the geolocation where it is placed? Can it be placed differently? So all of that can be twinned, and they can actually increase the let's call it customer satisfaction using that data, and they get a lot of insight with which they can actually expand their business and diversify into new areas. Similarly, about the process industry, whether it is the oil and gas industry, refinery industry, or utility industry, where we also partnered with some leading providers of 3D CAD software, where we integrate the visual part together with the data part, which we bring as part of the system integrator. So these are very exciting sub verticals. We just wanted to just bring it across, but I'm sure there are aerospace, there is automotive, there are tons of others. We even talked about, Sandeep, if you remember, we also talked about the satellite industry, where they
yes,
wanted to predict the satellite because they cannot do anything about it, but they still
power
wanted to
backup
come into the
system
twin.
of satellite. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's a very interesting topic, and I'm sure this has a long,
And
long way to
in
go.
energy industry, there's a very important topic which is coming up because of this pandemics. Because as I started my this thing with pandemics, so because the shift layout, whenever there's a shift change, shift 1 to 2 and 3 in oil rigs and all, there are 50% of accident happen because of the change of shift, because we are still following the manual processes and all. And and that is the need of an hour. So now companies are realizing that they need a contextualization engine in between
Right.
the enterprise world and the field world, which will really give the precise information that what is going to happen when you change the shift, and it will retain the knowledge retention, as I explained it for, is very important, where we have this cognitive engine where we retain the knowledge of people. Unfortunately, we have lost a lot of good people due to pandemics, and we have, the industry is facing challenges also post pandemics to get that knowledge, and this is very important for us to get into the cognitive world, and which we have already integrated as a part of food platform.
Digital twin. Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for this. Just like, yes, we are a little over time. We plan to go for 30 minutes, but now the questions are coming in, and I would like to use the time also to bring them in. So, like, please define the value in digital twin business and how customers understand it. I think that's, you could talk for hours on that. Yeah,
I think
that's
it is value is different perceived by different customers. We take the top three values. I mean, there are too many problems the customer might have. We take the biggest pain item, that means the top three. If you apply the 80-20 rule, 80% of the problems are solved with 20% of their problems. That's the rule we take, and we apply the 4M6C on top of that to be able to figure out how do
I
we
think,
solve that problem.
yes, and problem could be most business problems. We are not taking any IT related problems here. We are talking
Exactly.
about how can we improve the operational cost, for example.
Exactly.
okay.
So it is
Okay.
itself a very big problem in any industry.
Yeah.
So
Got that. In regards of like operational, in like in just like leveraging up, sometimes it seems, and that's also why I would like to bring up that question here.
Mhm.
Are these just like marginal, very zero, slow improvements, or do we have
Huh.
anything, or have you experienced and just like No, that was something that was big. It was not just
I
0.0%.
I will probably will give you an example. Wind turbine industry,
Please.
what we achieved is a 15% improvement in operational cost, right? I mean, or reduction in operational cost can translate to hundreds of thousands or even millions. That is one thing. The other thing is the asset availability, right? Every 0.1% increase in asset availability in the wind turbine translated to a few 100,000 units of power generated, which directly translated in terms of months, you can talk about millions of dollars of real energy which getting sold. So the impact is huge. Even if you make a small percentage change, the
Hmm.
business impact really shows up in a big way.
So digital twin is a decarbonization enabler. I think that is the future. In next 5 years, you will see where people will generate carbon credits out of digital twin. So
Okay, that's very interesting also. And yes, we are over time, but we're still taking the last question right now. And we're going to answer questions after that. If you post them under the video,
Sure.
we're going to take care to answer them over the next day. So, what's in the scope of digital threats? Is it
Very,
digital
very,
footprints? Yes, please.
very interesting. Very interesting. I just read it already, so just wanted to save some time. Digital threats can be of any nature, right? So there could be. So IT is a very well known threat, right? IT data is very well known threat. RDBMS based. OT threat, which is basically the real time information, sensor data, failure data, and everything which is running in the field has a completely different dynamics to it. Another threat. The third thread is obviously the thread which is most underestimated and underlooked at, which is the knowledge of the people, which is the cognitive thread. And cognitive thread is like knowledge graphs, right? It is like a logical thinking process, and we try to digitize it. So digital threads essentially can all be bucketized into these three categories. If there
Hmm.
is anything else, we would love to hear. Well, if you talk about CAD data, if you talk about augmented reality data, you would be able to put it in the IT thread and say that's the data which we. So more or less, we kind of figured out that the digital threats can be managed with these three buckets in place.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for this. And really looking at the time, we promised to have like 30 minutes, a quick talk on that. But on the other hand, as now the questions are coming in, I think there is room for some more. So also, dear audience, if you're interested into a special topic on digital twin, as we learned, it's so broad. Yeah. It can be different things. It's about the approach itself. It's about like finding out the real business value, finding out the right drivers that will make a huge impact out of that. I think those two gentlemen will be happy to show up for another LinkedIn Live.
Yep.
I hope for that very first one for your premiere. That was a nice one. Thank you so much, Murli, for joining. And also thank you so
Pleasure.
much, Sandeep.
thank you very
Pleasure.
much.
Look, looking at the time, I think now it's last closing words. Murli, what would you say? Digital twin, most
We
important thing to know, one sentence.
just take it from me. Next 5 years, 5 to 7 years, 50% of the industry will be clinging on to digital twin. So we are excited to be part of that journey, and we would want the audience to also join in and have fun together with us.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Bye bye, Murli. What about you, Sandeep?
Yeah, I see this is an decarbonization enabler technology. So this is going to take, people are going to invest very heavily into it because this will really bring efficiency in the, offsetting the carbon also. So that's my view about it for next 5 years. I will be interested to go in that field. So
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Also, have a great day, Sandeep. So that was a great first session on Digital Twin Demystified. It was really thrilling. Thank you for all the questions that came up. Please go over with your suggestions. If you want to know more about a very special topic, if you want to know more about the process, machine, about the approach, about the framework, please let us know. Don't forget, if you want to get to the events I'm just like posting at the bottom, the Wind Europe, you will find also the link how to get in contact with us in LinkedIn Live. I was just like looking at two screens. Sorry for this one. Was a great session. Looking forward to see you on the next time where we're going to talk about the second part of Digital Twin Demystified. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you and bye bye.